Soundstripe.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We're still up here at Southside Sales Service with the one and only Bruce. Today we're going to talk about something that probably is very scary to some people, especially if you're not a big wrench guy or kind of work on your own stuff. So this kind of project might be like, whoa, that's way too much for me. But it's not that bad, and Bruce is going to kind of go over it. And that is switching over your rail. So our buddies over at Ice Age have been with us for quite some time, especially Bruce. Yeah. This setup right here is actually Jeremy's for Sweepy, and this is his rear suspension out of his XC, which obviously we talked about these before. We switch over to Ice Age just for their strength and durability purposes. These are direct replacements for a 137 skid. They have them for 129 too, I believe, and yep. Assaults, they, you know, whatever you really need, they have it. So,
RMK.
Yeah, tons of RMK and all the mountain stuff. So we're just gonna kind of go over how to get everything transferred over the easiest way. Bruce has done, good Lord,
yeah, too
many of these. So he's gonna kind of touch on that. Before that, though, we're just talking about this. The tools that we use all the time, power tools, obviously have been a big thing the last, I don't know, probably 10 years, and they're evolving insanely. And I use Milwaukee, Bruce used Milwaukee. Milwaukee now has even just like hard tools, sockets, ratchets, wrenches. They have everything, and they are just such good quality for a really, really good price. And I just wanted to give a shout out to them, because every time, you know, again, we have them in the trailers and it's negative degrees outside, and we go out and the batteries are still good and they last. And I mean, I've had my set for probably 15 years at this point.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I used it, you know, my 1/2 inch impact was, I got it when I was racing cars. We were doing the tire changes all the time. So
yeah, and I've mixed in newer generation stuff from them, like this little stubby 12 volt.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You can go right inside the rails to loosen this stuff. And when I tighten with that, and then I grab a wrench, like I just want to make sure it's tight.
It's tight.
It's tight.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 volt.
Yeah. So big shout out to Milwaukee. They really make a good product. Again, we just use it. We got toolboxes filled with it. So
yeah, this stuff here is really nice, and it's very unique with the square. So you can literally have this on there and put a wrench on it if you wanted to.
Right.
The other thing is when you put them down, they don't usually roll off the counter.
So yeah, big shout out to Milwaukee. All right, so back to this. Where do you start? So Bruce did go through here and obviously used his Milwaukee stuff to loosen everything already. So it's kind of ready to come apart. We pre-planned this.
Yeah.
We're getting good at that.
Yeah, oh yeah. So the one other thing with the Ice Age rail thing is we're just going to show you, you know, when you look at this rail, we just talked about XCR and XC and the amount of holes, you know, in areas to keep things lighter, and, you know, the commonality that Polaris is going to be doing when in 26 and on. You look at this, and this is where, when we talk about a little more strength, this is why. I mean, it's some, you know, all the solid areas.
Yep.
So when I started taking this apart, one, you know, we've done videos before on if you just want to take the shocks out.
Right.
We've done that video before. So if you do want to see that, you look back, you'll find it.
Yep. Yeah, that video is getting the skid out, getting the shocks out, and then putting the skid back in too.
Right.
So it's kind of the whole shebang. So I'll link it up.
Yeah, it's just
up here somewhere.
If somebody wants to do that, it's good information, and it makes things a lot quicker. When we go to wanting to do this, or, you know, you're taking the rails apart because one's broken, or you gotta get something done. What I like to do is keep many things together as possible. So I'm loose, you know, obviously these wheels are in the way of a lot of things when you're trying to take things off. So you have to, you know, pull all these things out so that the wheels will come out of there. But the other thing is all the cross shafts that are, you know, front and center, which is for, you know, supports the front track shock, and then the middle one, which controls basically all the movement of this, so that, you know, there's a lot of strength here to all the way back here, when you have another cross bolt that goes through, and then you have the cross, this is the coupling bar. All these things are, you know, I get everything loose, and then I can take this whole piece,
Pretty much that whole center section out.
And then put it back down, and then once you slip a couple of the cross bolts in,
then it'll stay up.
Now it'll stay up, and you can piece things back together again. So when I take this out, that's how it'll be. But the other thing that you do have to look at is when you're taking this out, you do have, there's certain washers that go in between because the static distance between everything is very important. So, you know, even on this here, when you know, this has that huge, basically spacer nut, which holds this, which is the nut that holds that front torque arm in. So, you know, so you think, okay, yeah, that's good, but there actually is another washer in here that is separating this to, again, get that width. So when you look at it, you got washers on the inside of this, you got washers on the inside of this. You don't on the inside of this. This is like a crossbar, which literally goes underneath the lip here. So no washers. And then you go back here and you take this cross bolt back out, it has washers inside too. So you've got like three areas that have those washers that need to go in there. So when you take that stuff apart, people look at it and go, oh, okay, it goes behind the nut. Well, it's not behind the nut. It's actually a spacer that keeps the rails a certain
That's got to go on the inside of this.
So you really do have to pay attention. You know, sometimes things are stuck to grease. You go take them off and you don't realize it. Then you move it and then it slides off, you know. And so you do have to look at that. Same thing with this is a three-wheel setup. Four-wheel setup is not any different other than the length of this tube right here. But there's a washer inside of here that will, another one that is also for the width of all this. So when this stuff all comes apart, because this is actually for your adjuster bolt pushes against that. When this comes out of here like this, again, you slide this stuff back on again just so that you don't lose the succession of everything. Yeah. But see, like there's that washer right there. Okay, so knowing that washer went there is important, and there's, you know, that's an as required thing. So if you look it up in a parts breakdown, it'll point to it, it'll say as required or AR. So you need to know, you know, that again, there's none, there's no other ones on there. So you have to pay attention to that.
Right.
So, and a breakdown doesn't help you because it just says as required.
Right.
So you have your transfer blocks here, which we talk about all the time, that, you know, control the transfer of the unit when you hit the throttle. These things, when we go to put them back on again, it's very important. Some of the last things, when everything else is tight, before these are tight, these need to be parallel so that you don't tighten it and it's like this. Because you can actually flip these blocks. These blocks have a little spacer in there that makes it so that there are little flats on it so that you can turn it and it stops. But that it has to be in the right location, or no matter what angle you put it at, it's going to be at the wrong angle.
Right.
So that's another thing that you need to look at on any of these. You need to let it rock back, hit against it, snug it up, and then tighten it so that it doesn't turn. And then all of a sudden this isn't square anymore, or one's square, one isn't square.
Right. So, but yeah, pretty much he's going to take all the bolts out and pull this whole center section out and pretty much just drop it right in there. So we'll cut the video here. We'll kind of pull a bunch of stuff out and then we'll video him pulling it out and dropping it in. Okay, a few moments later, little pro tip here. You have your limiter strap bar, crossbar, and then your
coupler bar.
So that you transfer them first, so then they...
At least it keeps the unit so it's not going to fall over on you.
Right.
That's all.
So other than that, everything's out. All the bolts are out. And he's ready to do the transfer. And yes, Bruce makes this look very easy. But again, he's done this quite a time or two.
Just get a little bit harder when you're trying to do it because you're going to twist it up. And say drop in and you're okay. So once you have, you know, again, it's keeping the bars from falling apart here. Now you can get your other ones out of the way for now. Then your lower rear torque arm here. Again, we have a through bolt and we have those washers I was talking about that are kind of buried in the grease. So you have to make sure that those go on the inside. So when you go to swivel that through, go right across, and then
The other one on that side.
the other one on that side. No problem.
And an extra set of hands definitely helps.
Yeah.
Not that I'm really giving him an extra set of hands at this point in time.
Just push it through right now. So once you get at least one of those in, now you're at least the thing is going to be, you know,
It's going to stand on its own 2 feet.
Square.
Yeah.
And then again, these have washer on the outside of the nut. So no washer behind the bolt, washers in between for the thickness like we talked about, and then washer behind the nut. Now when you jump up front here, you've got, you know, again, certain bolts, these type of bolts with a 13 millimeter are kind of oddball compared to everything else, but they are what holds that bottom cross shaft in. So that, and it just needs to slide forward here. And then again, no washers on the inside of this, because this has like a funny shape that actually goes right underneath the rail. So I don't really tighten much up because I want the width to kind of help me out, so I'm not trying to squeeze everything in there. And then same deal here, cross shaft that goes through, where no washer on the outside. Then we have that, these have like a thicker washer that I was pointing out, there's silver, because there's no grease on this one at all, because this doesn't pivot at all. It's just a through bolt design, but it doesn't pivot. So, whereas back here, it does pivot and it is greasable. So that's why, you know, that's why those washers can get caught in the grease. The same thing, washer behind the nut. So, that there. Now the only one left.
Torque arms.
Yep. And as we talked about, got the washer, it's going to go against the rail like that. So when this comes up, we're going to go into the outside. Yeah. Again, when you're taking it out, if you're threading things back together, just so you don't just put a pile of washers somewhere, you're trying to keep things where you know they're going to go. So with this like that, now the hard part is done. So it's, what you do need to do is the cross bolts, which have nuts on them, nylon locks, you don't need to Loctite or anything. But like these here that just threaded into that shaft inside, those definitely need Loctite. Strap bar, definitely need Loctite. And blue is fine, you don't need red. These here for the coupler shaft definitely need Loctite. If you don't, there's, you know, just so much vibration to the ground that I've seen strap bolts come right out and have no idea why they would, because it's not pivoting, it's not anything, but nonetheless there's just a constant, that thing going in and out, and the strap yanking on it, and the bolt will just come out. I've seen it on race sleds, I've seen it on trail sleds. So that stuff that's threaded in bolts like that, they need Loctite. This one here for the torque arms, you definitely want Loctite on those. They're a fine thread bolt, but they'll still loosen up. And you know, you have the way you loosen this is 15 millimeter, but it uses a 1-inch wrench here like this. So you can get this good and tight. That's not the problem. It's just that there's a lot of pivoting going on and a lot of weight bearing on it. So
Bruce is going to go through that, kind of finish that up. We're not going to do the wheels today. We just are kind of tight on time. You use the same wheel bracket that came off of the rail. The only problem that you have is the cross member on this rail is actually too thick. So you actually have to open these up to get it to go over them. So Bruce, I believe, has something for that.
So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can clamp it in a vise, and then like this, and you can use, you know, a hacksaw or a grinder. You know, a multi-tool works really good for this stuff. because you literally can just buzz right down and just shave.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's only a little bit.
Yeah, they obviously they're making it stronger, so it is a little thicker.
Correct.
Yes.
So yes, that is something you have to do, but they have all the wheel placements and everything like that for,
Yeah. If you're going, just putting stock rails back on again, obviously they're going to go right back on. One other thing with stock rails is they have you have, like where this is mounted, you have 2 hole options and then 2 hole options here on both rails. So when you're doing it, you kind of have to look at where it was. And then you say, well, why is there 2 hole options? Well, Polaris has done that for years and years. So basically on the left side, you would have them in one set of holes, say the forward, and on the right side, you would have them in the rear set of holes on the other side. And the idea for that was just noise. When the wheels hitting the track, all the lumps and bumps in a track and all that, they were just trying to offset that, to stagger, to make the noise smaller rather than like that. Right. They don't do that with this. They're Ice Age isn't concerned with that. They're like, their whole idea is strength, and that's it. They're doing it for sound reasons.
So Bruce is going to kind of get this wrapped up as far as we can, minus wheels, and that'll probably be it. And just like that, it is 90% back together. And again, we're going to be doing some things, so we're not going 100% back together. We got to put the high facts on. That's kind of self-explanatory. You just got to cut them to length. And the rail caps, they come from the original ones. Bump stops come from the original ones. And then the rear, we do have the Ice Age rail brace kit. Again, this is extra over the top, but we did it anyway. So it comes with your bump stops in the back. It'll go right here. Again, that's super self-explanatory. Just kind of wanted to touch on how to do that center section, because that's definitely the scariest part for some people.
Yeah, it's a lot of pieces, a lot of nuts and bolts, and again, placement of everything is very important.
Yeah, and the Loctite thing is very important too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people wouldn't think about that.
No. So when I'm doing this, the only other thing I unhook when I did pull it apart is I did unhook the strap, because you don't want to be fighting with trying to hook that up. Besides, it gives you that rail, that tube, and this tube to actually, like we did, where it held it together.
Yeah.
And then, as we stated, when you're tightening this stuff, you let this rock back so that it's hitting
flat
against it square, and then tighten these. Now these are, I have them set forward right now. On an XCR, which basically this is going to become an XCR. The high side is always forward, but if it was a VR1 or an XC, the medium is always the one that's forward. Just FYI.
Yep.
And then the wheel deal, that's back together now with, like I said, that as required washer where it was, and these all snap into the square here. So this stuff here, this is what that square is for. And then you can put it on like this, and you can put it on like this. Obviously, you need the slot for the adjuster so that it falls in there right. And then you just line that up, and it'll pop in there. The edges are sharp on this right now. And then when you put this back on again, and you just have it snug, because you're going to be
adjusting
it for traction.
And that's it. But that's really a rail swap, going from your factory rails over to an Ice Age rail. Ice Age does a really, really good job of making it direct replacement, just like that.
Yep.
All the holes are there. Everything's in the appropriate position. So it's just to unbolt and rebolt back together and slap back in the sled. So again, that's as far as we're going to go here, because this is getting different chocks and everything else. So it's not totally going back together. But that is it. Again, we just wanted to touch on that. Just big shout out to Ice Age for constantly, supporting us. Again, they've been with Bruce for a super long time. They've been with me for the last 4 or 5 years. So big shout out to those guys. Check out the website if you guys need anything, if you have questions, whatever, put it down in the comments. We'll go from there.
Yep.
But thanks for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Soundstripe.